Everybody, welcome to Pub Sports Radio. This is the Draftkings picks and prediction show for UFC 268, and we have an absolute banger of a card. Really looking forward to it. There's going to be no Uncle Lee tonight. He's dealing with an emergency. I'm on vacation. My laptop is really messing up right now, so hopefully everything works well. But I'm here at AJ and Luke. How are you guys doing tonight? Luke, what's up? You looking for the card? Luke, are you there? Oh, no, we lost Luke.
I think he's lagging a little bit. His picture is there. I think he just.
You guys got me?
Yeah, there we go. We're good now. Yeah.
Oh, yep. Sorry, guys. My internet's getting a little buggy too. You're gonna have to bear with us for this show. But yeah, back from PFL. I went down to Florida last week, so that's why I was off the show. But looking to get back after it this week. Fun card.
Sounds good. That we have AJ as well. AJ, what is up with you?
Doing great, man. Looking forward to the card. We've got Contender Series tonight, Bellator as well in the meantime. And then we got this fantastic pay-per-view. This is back-to-back pay-per-view events. I mean, what a time to be a fight fan, right? We got 2 title fights and just a stacked card from top to bottom, really.
For sure. Great card. We're going to kind of breeze through this one. No Uncle Weezy, so it is going to go faster. As always, we're going to talk about our fights to target, fights to fade, all that good stuff. So I say we start with the fight to fade. And let's start with AJ. AJ, what fight are you fading for this week?
It's got to be Bobby Green versus Iaquinta for me. Fight's very, very likely to go the distance, and it makes sense. Historically, both guys are very, very durable, and neither is the most dangerous striker with their hands. The last time Iaquinta knocked somebody out was Diego Sanchez. That was back in 2017, but Bobby Green is historically very durable. He's coming off of a fight where he went 15 minutes with the dangerous Rafael Fiziev, and Bobby himself hasn't had a stoppage since 2013. Fight seems likely to be contested on the feet. Neither guy's really a dominant grappling threat. I think that the best case scenario and most likely case scenario for the winner is a high volume striking affair where I think Bobby gets the best of it. But for his price point and even for Al's price point, there's just other fighters priced around him that I think have much higher upside in win scenarios.
Yep, I agree. I don't think there's much upside on that fight. I think Bobby Green's pretty safe, but yeah, 8,600, don't really see him like taking down a tournament. Luke, how about you? What is your fight to fade for this week?
Yeah, I can't be necessarily overtly contrarian here with so many fights that are scheduled to finish on this card. You know, it is the most likely fight to go the distance at roughly 67% of the time. AJ kind of hit on all the main points. You know, Bobby's been a decision machine. You know, 10 of his last 11 have all hit the cards, with the only exception him getting knocked out by now champ Dustin Poirier. You know, he's more of a high volume point fighter, you know, boxer-esque type guy. You know, we've seen Al get hurt a little bit more in recent years, but nonetheless, still a really tough guy to get out of there. He's never been KO'd in his pro career. Both guys pretty difficult to finish on the mat to boot. So yeah, with so much finishing potential on this card, I think this has to be the one that you flock to fade. But from a slight contrarian standpoint to add on, I think a sneaky option to be a little different could be Volante and Barnett. It actually does have the second highest inside the distance line on the card, but both guys are in absolutely horrible shape. I do think there's a scenario maybe where they both just death gas after 5 minutes and none of them have the energy to finish each other. So we might see actually that fight get a lot of action on both sides, and you can definitely make the argument why it should. But on this type of a card, I think it could be an option to be potentially different because I could see both of them busting.
You're on mute, Brady.
Sorry, guys, not used to the phone situation. But yeah, I went with the Barnett fade as well. I kind of think it's going to be like a very sloppy heavyweight fight. I think it does even potentially could go to decision as well. I know, like you said, Luke, it's like minus 170. Fight doesn't go to decision, but I could easily see this going going late. Maybe somebody does get finished late due to fatigue, but I think that's probably my one to fade there. So we'll start with fight to target. I'll start this one off. So for me, it's going to be Justin Gaethje going against Michael Chandler. This is probably my favorite fight on the entire card. I think both guys are capable of finishing. Both guys are very, very dangerous. Chandler, I have question marks about his chin. Justin Gaethje, he's probably the more durable of the two, but Justin Gaethje is very, very hittable. Would not shock me if Chandler came out here and starched him early. I have more confidence in the Justin Gaethje side, though, but I have the most confidence in saying that this fight probably has a really good chance of ending inside the distance. So, for me, Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler, minus 260 fight doesn't get a decision. Is he my favorite fight to target? How about you, Luke?
Yeah, I'm going Vergara Osborne. It has the 7th best inside the distance line on the slate. Just for both guys' fights combined, they all have a 75% finish rate. They both kind of fall into the killer be killed kind of category for me. They both like to come forward, have poor defensive tendencies. AJ references this all the time to it. I believe it is the first fight of the night, so it could be a sneaky good one to target. Obviously, both are very live for KOs. Osborne's not very proven extended. Vergara is not very proven overall, and at least in terms of the grappling. Osborne is a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. He does have, he has shown submission competency in the past. We have seen Vergara get run on the mat before, so I think there's 3 of 4 boxes checked for general fight-based violence. So despite it being the 7th best ITD line on the slate, it still kind of falls into that whole bunch. Right in, anywhere between 5 to 10% of everyone, all the way up into that top range too. So I think this is actually a really sneaky fight to target, because I think the winner finds the optimal.
I definitely agree with you there. We have Clint in the chat. What's up, everybody? What is up, Clint? Uncle Weezy saying, got back from the vet. Feel free to send me the link if you can tag me in. Luke or Age, if you guys could please send Uncle Weezy the link. Could you send that? Don't know if I could get there from here, but yeah, we'll get you the link, Weezy. So nice to see Weezy coming in shortly. But AJ, how about you? What fight are you looking to target?
Yeah, sure thing. I could send that to him after I break this down. But yeah, I thought it was going to be sneaky with Osborne and Vergara, but not. Good call, Luke. I do like it for a lot of the same reasons Luke said. Also would like to point out, neither guy has been the distance since 2016. And, even in, I know officially Vergara, you look at Osborne's finishing upside. I know Luke said potentially a submission, but also a knockout, I think, as well. I know Vergara hasn't officially been knocked out, but rewatching his fight with Jacob Silva, I mean, he made Jacob Silva look like prime Sugar Ray Leonard, like in the first round. He dropped him twice. He almost knocked him out. It was just a huge, huge concern seeing that. When you couple that with going against Osborne, a guy who's very athletic, fast, has the reach advantage here, very dangerous on the feet. I do think that there's some credence to both guys finishing the fight. I will be higher on Osborne, but to completely disregard Vergara, I think would be foolish of me to do.
Sounds good. So yeah, I think we both, or all 3 of us, brought up some very good fights to target. Gaethje, Chandler, and then that one I think is going to be the more sneaky one out of the 2. Yeah, that's the first fight of the night, right?
As of right now, yeah.
As of right now, yeah, they could change it, but yeah, I think it's going to be a banger for sure. But we'll go to our fighter to fade. And for me, I went with Chris Barnett, 8,300. Like, I just don't see it with this guy. I don't necessarily think he's that great. I mean, one thing I'll say is, I mean, he probably has the better cardio out of the 2. He does throw volume, but I don't really see him much as a finishing threat. Like I said, I probably see this going to decision more than likely. Yeah, Chris Barnett, 8,300. It'd be a fade for me. If anything, I'd take a shot on the dog. But even then, I don't really want to do that. So yeah, pretty easy fade for me. Chris Barnett, 8,300. I don't love it. Luke, how about you? What is your fighter to fade?
So I'm actually going very contrarian here. I'm actually going Michael Chandler at 7.3K, which could be very bold, but I think it's a card where I think you might need to be. He's obviously been known as a perennial finisher throughout his career. That can't be denied. But his inside the distance line is roughly 25% implied, and I actually think that's I'm sorry, I think it should actually be a little bit lower than that. He's a strong wrestler, but I don't see him having much wrestling-based success on Gaethje. Usually, in the times Gaethje's been finished, it's been accumulation-based damage, where Chandler's, more of your blitz striker, the big left hook, the big overhand right, and it's primarily coming early in the first round. I just don't think that's overtly high percentage in this spot. And because Chandler's 7.3, because he has some general notoriety, even coming into the UFC relatively recently, almost putting out homeboy Oliveira in his last spot, I think he's going to be a very popular option at 7.3. But for me, I'm actually looking to completely fade him or be very, very underweight to be different this week.
I like it. Yeah, he's definitely going to get some ownership there. A fade would be getting pretty different, but yeah, I don't hate it. I think Justin Gaethje does win here. And then Weezy, what is up? Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks, guys. I've been at the ER with my dog all day. It was quite a day, but he seems to be all right now. He's on a ton of drugs, feeling a little bit better. But so I'm ready to go, dude. What are we talking about?
Well, I guess you can just quickly give us kind of a quick breakdown on your fight to target, fighter to fade, and then fight to fade. Those are the 3 we've done so far.
Oh, well, I mean, fight to fade is Volante Barnett for sure. Fighter to fade is Volante and Barnett. And the fight to target, I mean, it's gotta be Gaethje Chandler. I mean, that's gonna be fireworks.
Looks like we have the exact same three, Uncle Weezy. So there you go.
Great minds think alike, man.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, nice to have you on the show, Uncle Weezy, as always. And then AJ, what is your fighter to fade?
Gosh, it's a card where I feel nervous to just like outright fade a lot of these options, but the option I'm going to go with, and I know this is kind of more so you guys' style when we started doing these videos, was doing the lower priced fighter, and that's Jordan Williams here at 6,700. It seems largely like a bad matchup for him. I know Ian Gary, his opponent, is an unproven commodity in the UFC, but what I will say is I think it's a great stylistic matchup for him. I think he's the much more polished fighter. On the feet, he should have a striking advantage. Williams, we know, is very hittable defensively, 35% striking defense, absorbs, more than 5.5 significant strikes per minute. He's coming off of a fight against Mickey Gall where he looked atrocious. Gall rocked him early. And he absorbs a lot of head strikes, does Williams, going back on his contender series. So I think that it's a good stylistic matchup for Gary in his debut. That's why we're seeing him as such a big favorite. I just don't like investing in a lot of these big underdogs in tournaments. To me, it's just not a high, good long-term strategy, kind of like Dan Hooker and all those other big underdogs last week. Yeah, they're good fighters. They're intriguing in that sense. But then you look at the odds, it's just like I'm investing in something that is not all that likely to happen. I'd rather just roll the dice elsewhere.
Sounds good. I agree. I think Gary gets it done as well. What is up, Sosa? How you doing? But let us move on to the next one. We have our favorite dog. Let's start with AJ. Right back with you. What's your favorite dog for this week?
Yeah, it's kind of nerve-wracking because he has not looked good in recent years. I could easily see him losing by stoppage, but assuming the fight plays out, Frankie Edgar at 7,400, he's not that big of an underdog, and I do think he's the more crisp boxer in this matchup against Marlon Vera, who's coming off of a fight where he won. He beat Davy Grant fair and square, but I didn't think he looked particularly good. He got taken down. He got a little bit tired there. I think Frankie has a footwork advantage, a boxing advantage. I think he's more likely to attempt and land takedowns here, in which case he could be the better round winner. So I'll definitely be hedging myself. I do want some Vera as well. I think he's very knockout or bust, but Frankie is one of the more intriguing underdogs for me on this card because A, he's got one of the better chances to win, and B, I could see clear paths to victory for him.
Yeah, me and Weezy were talking about, I think on Stat Diggers, we were like, man, like Edgar could very well win this fight. There's only one big problem, and then the problem is he's 40. But yeah, don't hate that shot at all. For me, my dog is going to be Zhang Weili. Technically a dog on DraftKings. I know in real life on the betting line she is a favorite there, but 8,000. I love the volume that she does bring. I was actually picking her in the first fight. I bet her in the first fight, and I'm picking her in the second fight and betting her in the second fight as well. Of course, the move to fight ready doesn't hurt her whatsoever. I like her volume. She has power. She's going to be landing the more damaging shots. I think if this goes later into the fight, it does favor Zhang Weili. And I'm potentially thinking like maybe a late stoppage or a decision with for Zhang Weili as well. And at 8,000 with that much volume, I think she has potential to, if she does win, like she's going to be in the optimal lineup more times than not. So give me Zhang Weili 8,000, my favorite dog of the week. Luke, how about you? What is your favorite dog?
I think you guys just gave two really great options. Those were definitely in the top of my mind too. But I'm actually going with Uncle Edmond here at 7.7. There's definitely some boomer bust with him, 100%. But I think you're definitely getting some general salary-based value as we've seen Edmond get hit pretty hard in the last couple weeks. There's a good chance he actually closes as the favorite here in terms of the general odds. He's got the best inside the distance line of anyone below the 8.2K range at roughly 30% implied. And I think just like perceivably, it's actually a more winnable matchup for him than he's had recently, in fighting, top 10 guys and both guys that can wrestle in a Derek Brunson or a Jack Hermanson, where we just haven't really seen much overall wrestling willingness from Imavov. I know he was able to get on top of Jordan Williams in that fight, but it was more so from attempting subs actually in terms of him stuffing the takedowns, and then Jordan Williams kind of had to roll out of him, and then he was able to get on top of him. But he's not a guy shooting your traditional takedowns, and it's really been in those wrestling intensive based fights where we've seen Edmond gas. So hypothetically, if this is more of a range kickboxing match that really falls into Edmond's wheelhouse, I think his gas is going to be much more fine in this type of spot. And I actually do think he's the better striker here. Obviously has a ton of finishing upside. Imavov's never been KO'd in his pro career, but he did get hurt 2 times early in that Williams fight as well. And I'm not just in love with his general defense overall. And so at least from an upside perspective, 10 of 11 of Edmond's wins have come via first round KO as well. So I think he's got a ton of upside, and I personally think he should actually be favored in this matchup. So I think at 7.7, he's a solid dog option.
Yep, Shabazian was another guy I was looking at. To answer your question, David, the fight is going to be at 170. And then Uncle Weezy, what are you looking at here for this one?
I'm going to go with Colby Covington. We got a 5-round fight here. A guy puts on an absolute ton of volume, and I guess he could win this fight if it stays close, if it mirrors the last fight and he doesn't get caught in the 5th like he did then. You could be looking at personally probably a guy that goes optimal here if he does win this fight. You got 5 rounds to work with. They're familiar with each other, and we know Colby is just a guy that just puts on volume, and maybe he will add that wrestling wrinkle to his game, although it's not entirely likely. But yeah, I think I'll go with Colby Covington as a pretty safe dog to punt with here.
Sounds good. Don't hate that at all. If you all in the chat could smash that like button, it'd be much, much appreciated. Also, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. We go live every Tuesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. We're breaking down a very fun card, very great card in UFC 268. And now we're going to go to our favorite GPP play. And I'll kick this one off for me. My favorite GPP play is going to be Alex Pereira, 9,100. This guy hits very, very hard. He's very explosive. He is huge for the division as well. Michailidis has been knocked out in all 4 of his losses, so I kind of question the chin. I also question the cardio of Michailidis as well. I question the cardios of both guys, but I don't think that's going to matter. I think this fight finishes very early, whether it is a Michailidis submission. If Michailidis does go to the ground game, he's a black belt in BJJ, but I think that Pereira does potentially knock him out here, and I think it's in the first round as well. Maybe some people don't know about him. I mean, there's a lot of hype on him coming in here. He knocked out Adesanya, all that good stuff. But making his debut here, some question marks about him. But 9,100, I wouldn't get there in cash. But I think for GPP, I think he has some pretty solid upside there. First round knockout potential even. So yeah, give me Pereira for my GPP play. Luke, how about you? What are you looking at for a GPP play?
Yeah, I'm actually going Miss Weili at 8K. Her inside the distance line isn't great at 25% implied, but it is a 5-round fight. We saw her put up 104 points in her debut over Joanna as well. She scored 90 points in a decision over Torres. So I don't think it's life or death that she has to finish this fight to end optimal. We've seen Rose slow down in extended fights before from effective pressure, most notably against Andrade as well. So assuming, we don't see a complete recap of the first fight per se, I think Weili's got some significant upside here, and she has been a potent finisher of her own. So at an 8K price tag, I think she can easily 12x here in an optimal scenario for her.
I like it a lot. AJ, how about your favorite GPP play?
Yeah, it's going to be Edmond Shabazian for me at 7,700. Shabazian. I think this is a decent buy low spot on him. I mean, as you guys pointed out before, he's been facing guys that are, amongst the best middleweights. He shouldn't, in theory, have to worry about a wrestling heavy attack from Imavov, who's just not as aggressive with the takedowns. He lands less than 1 takedown per 15 minutes. If anything, Shabazian, in his debut landed 8 takedowns on Darren Stewart, which is pretty impressive. He could, land takedowns on Imavov. It wasn't that long ago where Imavov just really struggled in the clinch. I think his open space takedown defense is good with his sprawls, but if you really close the distance on him, muscle him up against the cage, you could take him down and you could control him there. And Edmond's been putting in work, man, at American Kickboxing Academy. If there's ever a time for Edmond Shabazian to go out there and show like significant improvements in an extended fight, it'd be a fight like this. So I'm not willing to write him off yet. 7,700 in a pick'em fight. He's also got a strong inside distance line as a below 8K salary fighter at plus 225. I'm actually looking here. That's being bet down. So sign me up for Shabazian at 7,700.
Sounds good. And then you, Weezy, favorite GPP play?
I'm going to go with Pereira as well. I mean, it's the knockout path against Michailidis. Every one of the times that he's been finished, it's been inside the distance and it's been by knockout. The guy's got savage kickboxing. I don't want to overthink it too much. I think that this is a setup fight for him. They clearly want this guy to win, and I think he gets it done here.
Sounds good. Yeah, that fight is going to be a banger. We lost Luke, but guess what? We got him right back. There he is. All right, so move on to the next one. We have our favorite cash game play. And let's start with you, AJ. What are you looking at for cash here?
Yeah, it's got to be Kamaru Usman at 9,300. I have my hesitations about whether or not the odds should be this wide. However, I'm not going to argue with the odds as they are. From a DraftKings perspective, he is one of the biggest favorites on the card, and he's in a 5-round fight. A decent inside distance line. We know Usman is the type of fighter that we want to target. He produces offense at a high rate. He lands 4.63 significant strikes per minute. He's a relentless wrestler. The two just stood in the middle of the octagon the last time and traded. However, Usman could change up his game plan. I think he's the party more likely to land takedowns of the two. We have seen Covington taken down in the past. I know that he scrambles up right away, but Woodley was taking him down. Dos Anjos was taking him down. Usman is a much more physical force than those guys. A black belt in jiu-jitsu. I could see Usman having success. If anybody's going to have success against Covington in that regard, cage pushing, things like that. And as we know, those points rack up from a DraftKings perspective. So sign me up for Usman at 9,300 for cash games.
Yeah, do you think the fight could potentially end earlier, or are you kind of thinking it's going to go later into the fight or to decision?
I think it's going to play out. Honestly, yeah, I feel like Usman, the power narrative of just him knocking out Masvidal, that can maybe sway our judgment a little bit about maybe it's a little bit more likely here. But generally, Covington is durable, and we saw how many shots he took before he finally went down in that first fight. So we see this fight play out for a bit.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I went with the same thing. Kamaru Usman, 9,300. Like, if there is a finish, I think it's going to come from him. Would be shocked if Colby finished him. But yeah, either way, it's going to be very, very high volume, very, very high paced. I think the winner of this fight is going to score a ton of DraftKings points. I even think the loser in this fight is going to score a ton for a loss. So yeah, I think this is a must play in cash. I think you could. Somebody in the chat asked if you could stack this fight in cash. I think that's not a bad idea at all. I'm going to do that as well. So yeah, give me Kamaru Usman as well. 9,300. I like it a lot. Luke, how about you? What are you looking at for cash here?
Yeah, gonna make it the trifecta as well. I'm going to Usman at 9.3K. It's interesting because obviously we have a lot of heavy chalk on this card, but it was kind of difficult for me to pick I should say feel good about a lot of the other guys in this upper K range, at least from a cash perspective. But Usman was kind of the glaring one that stuck out to me. Maybe Colby can make it another competitive fight again, which I guess just him generally losing, there is some general concern. But from a DraftKings perspective, 5 rounds, guy's high output. He scored, I think, only less than 100 points once, and that was against Damian Maia, which is obviously just a funky guy to fight in general. So I think that's understandable. But the guy is incredibly well-rounded, an absolute animal. I think he showed that he was the superior fighter in the first matchup. I still feel he's the superior fighter. So even at 9.3, to AJ's point, maybe.
Looks like we lost Luke, but looks like he's on Usman as well. Luke, you there?
I'll just pick up where he...
in terms of the odds necessarily. Maybe it should be...
No,
you got me? Sorry, guys. No, that was about it. Yeah, Usman.
All right, Weezy, how about you?
Usman, everything Luke said. It's just, we were talking about it, Brady. Remember when we were talking about it on the main event breakdown on your channel where we were like, if you were Colby's coach, what would you tell him to do differently? And we were both kind of coming up with snake eyes. This guy's so damn good. He's such a good wrestler that it seems almost pointless to wrestle him. He's showing power now, which is something he never showed prior to that. So I just think it's a pretty safe play up here at 9,300 for a guy that's fighting 5 rounds, actually has power potential here, the potential to finish the fight. I think it's a very safe play in a cash game. Yeah.
I like it. We have the GOAT in the chat, Tajik Bay. What is up, GOAT? How you doing? The GOAT of that betting community. Shout out to Tajik. All right, so we will move on. Looks like we're all pretty high on Usman in terms of cash games go. But now to our favorite value play, and I'm actually going on the other side here for this one. My favorite value play is going to be Colby Covington, 6,900. Like, even in a loss, like this is more so for cash games. Even in a loss, like he's going to score a ton of DraftKings points. He's going to put on a crazy pace. Like we saw the numbers he put up in the first fight. There was a ton of volume. Like somebody in the chat said, so people are talking about Colby might go to a wrestling heavy game plan, but even if he does that, I don't really see him having a ton of success, but I'm kind of more banking on this being a very, very high-paced fight, this having the extra 2 rounds as well. And if Colby does win, I think Weezy said it, if Colby does win, like, he's going to be on the optimal lineup. I would be shocked if he wasn't. So yeah, give me Colby Covington as far as a value play, 6,900. Yeah, I guess you could very well argue that this should be lined a lot closer in terms of the betting line, and especially on DraftKings, like 6,900 for Colby does seem a little bit crazy, right? So I'm going to take Colby Covington for my value play. Weezy, how about you, favorite value play?
I think there's a ton of value on this card. I mean, you can make an argument for Edgar, Chandler, Quarantillo, Michailidis, Curtis, Covington. All those guys have got value on this one. I'm going to say Billy Quarantillo, just to be a little bit different here. This guy puts on an absolutely terrifying pace. Whether it's mixing in wrestling or just with the striking, it's the kind of thing that breaks people. And it's a bad matchup with Burgos, obviously. Burgos is another guy who just comes forward and brings a pace and brings fantastic conditioning. But the thing about Quarantillo is if he does mix in the wrestling and he is constantly coming forward and pressuring like we've seen in the past, he might be able to kind of overcome that 5-inch reach disadvantage that he has here and show Burgos a real type of test that he hasn't seen in a minute here. So with the volume, with the wrestling upside, and like I say, there's a bunch of guys down here I think are good value. I'm just saying Quarantillo to be a little bit different because he does bring that pace and volume that you want in a DraftKings guy.
Yep, that was the other guy I was looking at down there. But we have a big donation from the GOAT of MMA donations, supporting the MMA community. Shout out to Tajik. Thank you, Tajik. I'll have to have you on. If you want to come on my show Saturday with Uncle Weezy Narco Cop, if you want to come on, just let me know, man. We need an extra one for Saturday, so that'd be cool to have you on there. But yeah, appreciate the dono. Shout out to Tajik, the GOAT of MMA betting. And then Frosty saying, like the show. Yeah, I agree. Let's smash the like button, guys, to get those likes up. All right. And then AJ, how about you? What are you looking at here?
Yeah, it's got to be Weili Zhang for me at 8K. The first matchup, she was an over 2-1 favorite, and she got knocked out. Maybe she gets knocked out again. Maybe the knockout sort of messes with her confidence, but that's just stuff that I can't quantify as a handicapper. The reason for this play is I like her much more in an extended fight. Rose will fight tough. She'll give her all, but one thing we have seen from her is she does slow down as the fight progresses, and she is susceptible to leg kicks. Zhang was actually landing a lot of leg kicks in the first fight up until the head kick. So I definitely think that there's a lot of credence to Zhang just winning in an extended fight. She could even, do damage to Rose. Zhang does, I keep flip-flopping. Zhang does throw hard herself. I think that was a big reason why she got the Joanna decision, even though she got out-volumed in 2 rounds. In the 3 rounds that she wasn't, they were identical in terms of significant strikes. So there's definitely a power makeup here where I think that Zhang won't get outgunned by Rose, who also carries some power, unlike the Jan versus Sandhagen matchup, which I completely underestimated. So I like Zhang at 8K. I think she's very likely to be on the optimal lineup if she wins. 5 rounds, wrestling upside, high volume upside, potential finishing upside, even though I probably think it goes the full way. But yeah, sign me up for Weili Zhang at 8K.
I like it. And I also like your point of, she was a big favorite last time. And what changed, right? What changed? She got knocked out. And like you said, it could happen again. But if not, we'll see what happens. So, Uncle Weezy, what are you looking at for your value play here?
Well, I think I already gave you the value play as Quarantillo.
Luke. Oh, he's gone. You pop him back in. Are you there? All right, we'll come back to him. But we'll move on to our dart throw, and let's start with Weezy. Weezy, what is your dart throw for this week?
It's got to be the Greek. I mean, there's some value on him down here. And this guy, Pereira, really doesn't have a ground game. I mean, you can train all you want for 6 months with somebody. You're not going to overcome somebody that's been doing it for 10 years. And, Michailidis would be absolutely stupid to stand with this dude. I mean, the last guy that did that nearly got murdered. So you would expect that he's going to shoot in, try to get takedowns. And if he is successful doing that, if he gets 1 takedown and gets Pereira flat on his back, he could easily win this fight because this guy is a career kickboxer with no ground game. So I don't feel good about it. I absolutely believe that there's a path here for Pereira to knock this guy out. But if Michailidis fights smart, he could find some success, and he would be probably very low owned, as we haven't seen much of him thus far. That's been very good at all, but he is fighting a one-dimensional fighter here. And if you go back and watch his regional scene footage, this guy does wrestle and he does grapple. So that would be my low-owned dart throw here.
Yep, I agree. That is mine as well. Michailidis, I mean, yeah, supposedly he's a black belt, has good grappling. I don't think the wrestling's that great, but yeah, if you can get him down early, like a path very well could be there for submission. So yeah, Michailidis 700, like you mentioned, Weezy, very low owned. I don't mind it at all. 700, don't mind it. AJ, how about you? Low owned dart throw.
Yeah, it's going to be Chris Curtis for me at 6,800. I just tape studied this fight before we hopped on, and I think that Haas should be a comfortable favorite. I don't want people to listen to this breakdown and think that I'm picking Curtis to win or anything, but I think that there's a lot of credence to like Curtis's experience. He's a very experienced guy. He's generally very durable. The only time he was knocked out was by Ray Cooper, who we were just reminded this past week, the guy hits like a truck. So no shame in that loss. And, he does get controlled in the clinch. I'm not a big fan of that. He does give up takedowns, but one thing I noticed is he makes you work for the takedowns and he'll look to scramble. And we've seen Haas slow down in the past. And now I know he's been the distance in 2 consecutive fights. However, in those 2 fights, we saw Imavov almost knock him out a couple of times. He barely hang on there. And then against Daukaus, that was an improvement. However, Daukaus just didn't give him a lot of resistance from the bottom position once he got taken down in round 3. It was an improvement from what I've seen, but it doesn't all of a sudden tell me that, Phil Haas has cardio like Lance Armstrong or somebody like that, So I definitely think that Chris Curtis is very knockout or bust. And for that reason, I'll just take some minor exposure to him in large field GPPs.
Sounds good. Yeah, I don't think Curtis is bad, but like you said, he can be taken down. He can be held against the cage. But if Haas does slow down, Clint said it right there. He said a round 3 KO incoming, and that's probably his path to victory, to be honest. So looks like Luke is having some technical issues. All good. If he does come back, we'll get his last 2 there. But we'll move on to the lineups for last week. So in last place, Uncle Weezy with Chimaev, Duraev, Blachowicz, Jandaroba, Sandhagen, and Nascimento scoring 376.73. In third place, me with Duraev, Jan, Dos Santos, Ismagulov. Yeah, that's right. It didn't change. Ismagulov out of there. Hugh Yozong, and then Teixeira scoring 403.17. And then in second place, Luke with Duraev, Volkov, Dos Santos, Jan, Sandhagen, Uzdemir with 451. And then first place, AJ with Duraev, Ankalaev, Petrosky, Dos Santos, Sandhagen, and Macklin. Really good lineup there, AJ. You got it done, and you've been on fire as of late.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I thought that going mid-range on a week like last week would be ideal because there was a lot of good mid-range plays, but they weren't going to be as popular as the higher-priced favorites because they were perceived as more safe. And, talked about it at length. I'm sure everybody acknowledged that Makhachev and Chimaev were great plays. However, for them to be on the optimal lineup, you needed a lot of those underdogs to come through. And when you only had Olechechuk and Glover to do so, it just made it difficult to get a lot of those guys in. So I was more than okay being very heavy on Dos Santos. And then I think we talked about it on this very show, being heavy on the Petrovsky and Yozong fight.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, congrats to you. Great lineup there. Luke, you're back.
I think I'm good now. Sorry, boys. I apologize.
Oh, you're good. So Luke, just quickly, your value play in your dart throw.
So quick for the value play. I'm actually going upper with Gaethje at 8.9. I don't do it very often, but my reasoning is there's 6 fighters priced above him, but he's got the 3rd best ITD line on the slate and has a great round 1 prop of plus 200. So I think if you're looking at value in relation to that upper tier, I think Gaethje, you can actually save some salary in comparison to paying up to some of those other guys with him at 8.9 when he has just as much upside, if not more. So that's my favorite value play. And for the dart throw, I actually am going down with Michailidis at 7.1. You guys hit on all the main points. Pereira, absolute savage, stud of a kickboxer. But one interesting little nugget I do want to bring up, Giga Chikadze, when he came in and fought on his first stint of the Contender Series, he fought a gentleman by the name of Austin Springer. Narrative was that, Giga, high-level glory kickboxer, again, was going to come in there and kill the guy. But the reality was his wrestling and grappling was not up to snuff at that time. Giga closed minus 350. He got wrestled, he got taken down, and he got submitted. And from what we have seen from Pereira, at least in the past, his takedown defense isn't very good, and he hasn't looked great when he's on bottom. I know he's with Glover Teixeira now. There's a good chance he's gotten exponentially much better, but we don't know that 100%. All I'm saying is for a low-owned dart throw on a guy in Pereira who might be extremely high-owned, Michailidis could come out here and turn some heads 100%, because we do have kind of a very similar parallel example of another glory kickboxer coming in and getting shut down in kind of a similar capacity.
All great points here. Cannot wait for that fight. And yep. But we'll move on to we'll give our lineups for this week. We'll see who wins this one. If anybody in the chat has any questions, go ahead and ask them now. We'll get to those and we'll give our picks and get out of here. But for me, I'll start with my lineup here. Give me Justin Gaethje. Give me Colby Covington. Give me Billy Quarantillo. Give me Gary. Give me Usman. And give me Zhang Weili. I'm stacking up the main event there. Weezy, do you have your lineup for this week?
I do, yeah. So I'm going to go with Usman, Pereira, picking against the Greek, Gaethje, Weili, Shabazian, and Covington. So I'm also stacking the main event, something I don't usually do.
Yeah, I like that line. Luke, how about you?
Yeah, I'm getting really weird this week. I'm actually double stacking. We're gonna see how well this goes. We're going Covington, Usman, Rose, Weili, Gaethje, and Osborne.
The double stack. I like it. Can't wait to see how that works out. And then AJ, what is your lineup for this week?
I'm going to go with Edgar, Shabazian, Zhang, Osborne, Gaethje, and Usman.
Sounds good. Cannot wait to see who gets it done this week. So we'll get a couple questions in here. We'll start with AJ. AJ, how do you feel about Imavov?
I feel like he could win an extended fight. I just trust we know we can trust him much more in a fight that goes 15 minutes just based on provenness. And also like Shabazian, he's a young and improving fighter. So I feel good, but not great about him, right? Because there's a lot of credence to Edmond's improvements. There's a reason why people are very high on him. But it's that cardio concerns. Let's see if he patches those up. If he does, I do think that there's definitely a lot of merit to being very high on him long-term. So AKA, let's see the new Edmond Shabazian.
Sounds good. Average just saying, is the Melsic Souza fight on DK?
I don't believe so.
Mm-mm.
So we're missing that one, and then we're also missing Dustin Jacoby, right? I don't think he's on there yet.
Yep.
Okay. So two things we got to look out for there. Anybody else? Any thoughts on Imavov? I think AJ broke it down pretty good, but yeah, I think the cardio is the big thing for me on the Shabazian side. But we'll give our quick picks now. I will start it off up top. I'm going to go. Give me Kamaru Usman. Give me Zhang Weili, Justin Gaethje, Shane Burgos, Marlon Vera, Alex Pereira, Bobby Green, Phil Hawes. Give me Nasruddin Imavov, Ian Gary, Chris Barnett, Dustin Jacoby, Melsic Bogdasarian, and then Ode Osborne. AJ, how about you? What are your quick picks?
I'm going to go with Usman, Zhang, Gaethje, Burgos, Vera, Pereira, Green, Hawes, Imavov, Gary, Vellante, Jacoby, Bogdasarian, and Osborne. Sounds good.
Weezy, how about you?
I am going to go with Usman, Weili, Justin Gaethje, going with Burgos, going with Marlon Vera, Pereira, Green, Hawes, Shabazian, Ian Gary, oh God, I guess Vellante, no, we're gonna go Barnett via Vellante choke, and we'll go with Dustin Jacoby, Melsic Bogdasarian, and definitely Ode Osborne.
Sounds good. And Luke, how about you?
I'm going Usman, Weili, Gaethje, Burgos, Edgar, Pereira, Bobby Green, Hawes, Shabazian, Gary, Vellante, Jacoby, Bogdasarian, Osborne.
Awesome. So, yep, guys, we did it. If you all can please smash that like button, it'd be much, much appreciated. Also, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio and go check out these guys as well. Luke, let them know where they can find you, what you have going on throughout the week in terms of MMA content.
Yep, you guys can follow me on Twitter at SWR_betting, posting a ton of funny shit, like to have some fun on there. Patreon.com/SWR betting, bets, content, all that fun stuff. Got the last week of Contender Series this week as well over at dailyfanmma.com, doing bets and content over there for them. So you got 15 minutes to get my bets and content in over there if you're interested as well. Club and Sub podcast every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. Myself and all the boys breaking down these fights every week.
Sounds good. Go check out Luke. Really a big fan of the Club and Some podcast myself. And then we have AJ as well. AJ, let them know where they can find you, what you have going on throughout the week in terms of MMA content.
Yeah, Twitter at AJ Shulo now. AJMMAbetting.com. Got Bellator content up there. Also contribute to dailyfanmma.com. Yeah, looking forward to the event. Back-to-back pay-per-views. Let's get it. Cheers, guys.
Let's go. And then finally, Weezy. Weezy, let them know where they can find you, what you have going on for MMA content.
Yeah, check me out on Twitter at MMA Weezy, and you can check me out on my YouTube channel, Uncle Weezy. I do balls deep breakdowns of fights. I was going to do a full card breakdown tonight, but due to the emergency with my dog, I will not be doing that. I will probably put that off until tomorrow night. But yeah, check me out on my YouTube channel right here on Pub Sports Radio every Sunday night with DFS by the numbers for Stat Diggers, and then every Tuesday right here with you guys.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully your dog does get better and get better fast. But you can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. My full card breakdown's already out. My DraftKings video is out. I'll be going live Friday, 7 o'clock Eastern time, and then 1 hour prior to the prelims on Saturday for Best Bet. That's about it, guys. Leave a like on the way out. Much appreciated. Subscribe, and good luck for this awesome card, UFC 268. And, yeah, we'll talk to you guys soon. See you.